Today is Tuesday, January 25th. It is 8:30 a.m. I'd like to welcome fellow commissioners, staff, guests, and those watching at home to the Finance and Physical Resources Committee this morning. With that, we will start with a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion. Moved by Commissioner Sparks, supported by Commissioner Bolter. We'll take any questions or comments or any items that's to be pulled from the consent agenda. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We will go to item 2 from the Administrator's Office. Al?
Yes. Get my agenda up here. All right. Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the uses of $10 million of the funds received to date from the U.S. Department of Treasury for the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund from the Federal Coronavirus American Rescue Plan, ARPA. Summary of requests. Kent County will receive $127.6 million from the United States Department of Treasury pursuant to H.R. 1319 American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Section 603, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. The Treasury distributed one half of the total to Kent County in 2021 and will distribute the remainder in 2022. Board Resolution 1014-2198 accepted and appropriated $10 million of the funds to the Kent County 2021 Coronavirus Relief Fund. The attached document summarizes the recommended uses of those funds. The recommended allocation is contingent on confirmation as to eligibility under the Federal Treasury guidelines. Any procurements required under these recommendations must comply with all federal and county procurement guidelines. CSL FRF dollars must be obligated by December 31, 2024 and expended by December 31, 2026. A proposed spending strategy for the remaining CSL FRF funds will be developed to support the Finance Committee and Board of Commissioners decision-making. This action item is an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Motion. Okay, moved by Commissioner Bolter, supported by Commissioner Womack, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Bukowski.
Well, I'll start with a comment and then question, just so we get the question on the record, though I think I know the answer. My main comment is the first item, which is actually, I think, the largest one. I'm going to embarrass Al Jano and say if Al says it's going to cost us $3.1 million, I trust Al. He has his pencil sharp, but what I see this being is that we're actually going to sharpen our pencils some more because this begins the planning process. My biggest question moving forward is this $3.1 million says it will support a portion of the project. So really curious as this rolls forward, what are the other parts and pieces? Like what do we believe the full scope's going to be?
Come on down, Al.
And where will those other parts and pieces come from?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your confidence, Commissioner Bukowski. We don't know exactly how much this is going to cost. We did square foot takeoffs. And we did this almost 20 years ago. We remodeled. There's some Huff core partitions in there. We'll do more conventional construction with drywall. I don't know the semantics of exactly why the portion was put in there. It's not a red herring or any issue, but it would be my intent that this would support every part of the project that we want to do out there. So I can't defend the verbiage exactly, but to assure you this can do everything. It's like I say, it's been almost 20 years. We did it quite thriftily last time when we did our remodeling. We did it pretty darn good, and it's served us for almost 20 years now. And with what we do here, society has changed. Expectations have changed as far as families that want to come in and want to be with their loved ones or their children and have some more space. A little more privacy, so you can't hear something in the next room like you can through the current Huff core partitions. And we'll keep our pencil sharp, but again, I know you all expect it to be done right when we do it, because that's the Kent County's standard, and it just makes common sense. So again, we have every expectation this would handle all the needs of the clinic area of the health department. Remember, we also have continuity of operations. That helps drive the cost up, unfortunately, but we've always done really good. The health department's been a wonderful team to work with at providing those continuity of operations.
All right, thank you.
I think, and also we had an editing error there, because I think initially the number was 1.5 million, and the decision was made to true up the 10 million and put the full project cost in. So that should be the full project cost,
Got it,
but it'll be further defined as we go.
got it. Well, I mean, I don't know how we want to.
You can keep going.
Just jump, well, I'm just.
It's still your turn.
Well, then I'll just take a second question, but not for you, Al.
Yeah, keep going.
I had an opportunity to chat with the Drain Commissioner on the way in, and at the risk of causing flashbacks and trauma to the former chair, to bring a question about the Knapp drain. I know there's been tons of work on the Knapp drain through the years, and my biggest question is it fair that the county is on the hook for $2 million in this project?
Come on up, Commissioner Yonker.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Drain Commissioner Ken
And,
Yonker.
David, Commissioner, I can look you in the eye and say yes. Now, fair is a relative statement. You know that as well as I do. But I also worked with you. Yeah, right.
Unless
But-
they play baseball.
I've worked with you, Dave, over the past few years, and I know how you think, I think somewhat, and we do follow a lot of the same lines, and our hearts are to serve the people of this county, as fair as we can with what we have. And as I've been through the early records of this whole scenario around Knapp's Corner, we have a responsibility as a county, because we were part of the problem. And we've made choices and decisions that brought us to where we are today. So I felt that we should have a responsibility in the fixing of this problem. The city carries the brunt of it. They're not arguing that. They've been very cooperative. I have 100% cooperation with Eric DeLong and Carrie Rivette and their team. We're moving forward as fast as what schedules allow us to, but we're not being held up because of disagreement. It's just strictly logistics is where we're at. And this is some of the final pieces. From here, I just got some legal procedures to work through before we can actually put shovels in the dirt. But yes, we do have a responsibility, and I think it'd be a shame if we didn't own that. So the 2 million is a very small piece of a total project that could run up to 8 million. And the city, Township of Grand Rapids will pay 125,000, and they didn't bulk on that. And the city is going to cover everything else. And they aren't balking. They're not pushing back. They're very cooperative, and it's been a great effort moving forward to get this thing resolved. And I believe the outcome is going to be far better than where I originally started. And I'll admit that. I'm pretty excited about this solution. I think we're all going to be better off because of it.
All right, thank you.
All good?
I'll let others, then I'll take a bite later maybe.
All right, Commissioner Morgan.
Others have it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm turning my microphone on for this because I guess I got a question for Dode, but this is a situation where I'm philosophically really conflicted, and then, with the printing of all this money and the money we're getting, but competitively, I want to compete. And I'd rather see, if they're going to do this and print this money, I'd rather see it come to Kent County than anyplace else. However, it says this is we received money last year, and then they divided it over last year and this year. Do we have any money in the bank from last year?
Yeah, we do. We received half of it. Good morning, Commissioners. We received half back in May, 63.3 million. That's been sitting in the bank since May, yes. We should get the remaining portion this year.
Okay, thank you.
And then Jeff, this has to be spent by,
Obligated by the 12/31 of '24, spent by 12/31 of '26.
hey, just was clearing that up because sometimes, you get folks in the audience, folks at home that might not know that component might be asking themselves, so figured we'd just get that answered while you're here.
Remember with CARES, they extended it during the last week when it was set to expire, so who knows what they'll do with it.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Commissioner Bukowski for your second.
Sure, I mean, if
Other
everyone
questions?
else is gonna be shy, that, I agree, man, you know, I enjoy being agreed with and agreeing with members of the other side of the aisle. And I definitely want to compete for these dollars. And my assumption is, not my assumption, you know, the conclusion based on that ARPA consultant support is how best do we compete? And then when we compete, we make sure that we're not only within the rules, in spending and then reporting and all that. My biggest question is, $500,000 to do that? That's two Al Vandenbergs. So, at least two. You know, I mean, I don't know if that's over many years. It's just a big number for that support. So and I know you looked at, other folks and it was a competitive process, but that price tag to me, I don't know, it just.
Ellie, you want to make some
I'm-
comments on
and
that?
my disclosure is, in my day job, I had a consultant come to the state of Michigan and ratchet down the rates we get reimbursed. And one of those rates is $19.16 an hour. I don't know how you can pay somebody that and overhead, but some consultant from afar is telling people in the state of Michigan that's what we should be reimbursed for a service. And so I'm sure that consultant got paid a lot of money to be told that now I can't pay my people a fair wage. So all that being said, I've got an issue with consultants, and $500,000?
Go ahead, Al.
Yes. Well, I think the reason to contract with Guidehouse, there's a whole number of them I think that makes sense. I think that the one that resonates with me a lot is that Guidehouse will know all of the federal and state funding available and can help us figure out how to weave that into our ARPA. So our goal is to take the 127 and make it a whole lot more with other sources. So eventually we'll know more about the Federal Transportation Act, but we really don't know a lot of the other sources that are out there. And we can find some through our lobbyists and all that, but it's nice to have someone on board that has all that at their fingertips, and they're paid to know all that. Second, it is a strategy that's recommended by MAC. Guidehouse represents the U.S. Department of Treasury that's granting the money. They represent the state of Michigan that's accepting and sending out money, and also Wayne and Oakland counties. And so I think that, at least it's somebody who really will understand county government and is representing each piece of the process, which is going to become extremely important on the back end. Another reason is that with the CARES Act, the mission was to spend it as fast as possible, get it out in the economy, get it circulating and all that. With this money, the ARPA money, the message is take your time, make transformational investments, but we've been told that the accounting and auditing on the back end is going to be a whole lot more brutal. And so we'll have Guidehouse. We'll probably also need to hire a local accounting firm at some point to help with some of this, and maybe even Warner like we did with some of it for CARES. So it's going to be a major effort, not only to comply with the guidelines, which always seem to be shifting, but also on the back end with making sure we don't have to return any money that we've spent. And I think too, even though we certainly intend that this money will probably be spent mostly on larger, more transformational items, there is a prescribed public input process that we need to follow. And Guidehouse did help Oakland County get through that. And so those are kind of the reasons why we think ultimately it'll be money well spent.
All right, thank you, sir.
Al, do you have a sense for that contract? Do we get a dedicated person? Is it by the hour? Is it just now that we pay that flat fee, whenever we call them, they help us? Do we have that contract?
It's by the hour, that's the estimated hours, and it's a whole team of individuals. So there is a person that will be our representative with Guidehouse who we would go to. Cal did negotiate that contract, so I'm sure he'd be available to answer any specifics on that. Do you have questions for, or
Jenny?
We're still in the process of working through the details of that, but what Al has described is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much.
All right, anyone else? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item 3 from Kent County Community Action.
yes. All right. And maybe next year paperless.
You could go paperless now if you like.
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $231,000 from the Heart of West Michigan United Way to the Kent County Community Action Budget in the 2022 Coronavirus Relief Fund, and to approve up to an additional 30 temporary staff to provide SARA Round 2 services to Kent County residents contingent upon execution of a contract, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The SARA Round 1 and 2 grant programs assist eligible rental households having trouble making timely payments of rent and utilities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Board of Commissioners Resolutions 325-2127, 325-2128, and 422-2138 authorize the county to enter into a sub-award agreement with the Heart of West Michigan United Way to provide SARA Round 1 assistance, appropriate funding, and hire temporary staff. Resolutions 103-22-4 and 103-22-6 extended temporary staffing and fiscal services check processing activities for SARA Round 1 from December 31, 2021 through September 30, 2022. The state of Michigan, through the Michigan State Housing Development Authority, will provide approximately $8,819,958 of SARA funds to the Heart of West Michigan United Way for distribution within Kent County. Upon execution of a subcontract agreement, Kent County Community Action will partner with the United Way as a subrecipient to implement the SARA 2 grant program. Kent County will utilize the 30 temporary staff from SARA Round 1 to assist residents to complete SARA applications, review applications and documentation to determine eligibility for assistance, communicate with applicants, landlords and utility companies, and process payments to landlords and utilities. The temporary positions will fill supervisor, community service assistant, community service clerk, and fiscal clerk roles for the program period of performance January 1, 2022 through March 31, 2022. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form prior to signature. This item was approved by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee at its January 18, 2022 meeting.
Thank you, Al. Is there a motion to approve? Motion. Moved by Commissioner Womack and
Support.
supported by Commissioner Bukowski. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 30 positions, it seems like a lot for this type of work for only 3 months. We have, like, how much they're paid, per hour, or for the employees?
Hi, Susan.
Hi, good morning. The positions are 30 positions, but it's a 22 FTE equivalency. And so we were happily glad that we got the 22 FTE because we have a lot of people who are working part-time. We have one that's working on her doctorate, and she just wants to pick up a little bit of money. And then we have a couple of family mothers that work from like 9 to 2, but are doing a great job. So it is a 22 FTE.
That makes more sense. Thank you.
Well, and Susan, didn't you say at LHR that these are positions that are already on board?
Yes, these.
So it's not new ones, they're already working, the grant just extended so they can extend their work.
Right. These have been, most have been employed probably since April or May of 2021.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair, and for your patience this day. So my assumption is that item 3 and item 4 are related.
They are related in that there are two contracts with the Heart of West Michigan. One is for fiscal services, and fiscal services provides the, I think he's a financial clerk 3 or something, and he processes all the payments. And then we have the programmatic contract to do the intakes, establish eligibility, and to interact with the landlords.
So, I mean, kind of following up on Commissioner Sparks' question concerning the need for this many staff positions or how it boils down to FTEs. If you're going to, in item 4, if Cal staff is going to write 14,285 checks, the people in item 3 have to do all that processing. So
Yes,
is
they
that
do.
14,285 households, or will some households get multiple checks?
Some households will get multiple checks because households can be eligible for rent, and then they can be eligible for forward rent. But you have to get the arrearages paid first, and then the 3 months in advance.
Okay.
And then they're eligible for utilities, so that might be 2 of their utilities, plus they're eligible for a broadband stipend.
So I just like the sound of that 14,285 checks. That sounds like a lot of check writing. But that being said, the checks, though, don't go to the household. I mean, the checks will be made to landlord A and utility company B and broadband provider C, correct? We don't give a check to the Bulkowskis? Or do we, or we do give a check to the Bulkowskis and then we let the Bulkowskis pay their landlord?
Probably 95% of the checks go to the vendor, so the landlord, DTE consumers, and the broadband. There is a caveat in the grant that says if the landlord won't participate with the program, we can pay the tenant. But the tenant has to prove that they've then paid the landlord.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? All right, not seeing any more questions. All those in favor of passing agenda item number 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 4 from Fiscal Services. Al?
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $138,136. This looks so much like the, all right. From the Heart of West Michigan United Way to the 2022 Coronavirus Relief Fund budget for payment processing and disbursement of approved Sarah Round 2 Emergency Assistance Awards contingent upon execution of a contract, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary: the Sarah Round 1 and 2 grant programs assist eligible rental households having trouble making timely payments of rent and utilities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Board of Commissioners resolutions 325-21-27, 325-21-28, and 422-21-38 authorize the county to enter into a subaward agreement with the Heart of West Michigan United Way, provide Sarah Round 1 assistance, appropriate funding, and hire temporary staff. Resolutions 103-22-24 and 103-22-6 extended temporary staffing and fiscal services check processing activities for Sarah Round 1 from December 31 through September 30, 2022. The county's Fiscal Services Department will process the payment and dispersal of approved Sarah Round 2 Emergency Assistance Awards. This will be done under a separate agreement with the Heart of West Michigan, United Way of West Michigan, using the county's existing cost allocation formula for calculating indirect costs associated with particular administrative activities. The cost to process a Sarah payment will be $9.67. The Heart of the West Michigan United Way will pay the county $967 per payment issued by the county. 14,285 payments are estimated, which would result in a revenue of $138,136. The estimate of 14,285 payments is for the period of January 1, 2022 through March 31, 2022. The appropriation of $138,136 will be utilized to reimburse fiscal services and the county for the indirect costs resulting from the payment processing relating to the SARA program. Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Support.
Okay, we have moved by Commissioner Bukowski, support by Commissioner Womack. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion.
No, I got it in last time.
Okay.
All right.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That will bring us to item number 5 from the Sheriff's Office. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with Plainfield Charter Township to provide community policing services, to add 1 new county patrol officer position, to appropriate $135,055 to the sheriff's 2022 Special Project Fund budget, and to authorize the board chair or designate to sign the agreements. The Sheriff's Office would like to contract with Plainfield Charter Township to add a CPO position to provide community policing services. The community policing services will improve township safety by applying early intervention, security, and long-term problem-solving solutions for existing criminal and safety concerns, and using education, community resources, dialogue, and compromise to achieve solutions tailored to changing concerns and issues within the township. The cost for the position is $135,055 annually, including $117,455 in wages and benefits, and $17,600 in vehicle, equipment, and operating costs. $17,600 includes the annualized vehicle cost and assumes the purchase of a new vehicle and equipment once every 5 years. Pursuant to the agreement, the township will pay 100% of the wage and benefit costs, or $117,455, and $4,200 per year toward the cost of the vehicle. All other expenses in the amount of $13,400 annually, and that's the remaining vehicle, equipment, and operating costs, will be absorbed by the sheriff's general fund budget. The applicable contract has been reviewed and approved as to form by corporate counsel. In the event funding is eliminated or decreased, the position will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations. This item was approved by Legislative and Human Resources Committee at its January 18, 2022 meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Green and support by Commissioner Womack. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Morgan. Yes, please turn,
So,
actually, I'm supposed to remind everyone to turn on their microphones and speak directly into their microphones so the live stream can hear your remarks.
Okay.
That's it. Good job.
This is an enhanced service. We've been doing this a long time with some of the township partners. I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Department for doing that. But I always ask the question, Madam Sheriff,
Yes, let's have our sheriff come up.
is this dedicated to the township and it can't be used for mutual aid, or is it going to be available for mutual aid if there's a major event in a neighboring community?
That's one of the really powerful parts about this whole program is that, yes, it's a day-to-day resource dedicated to Plainfield Township or wherever we have a contract, but there is an emergency clause in every single one of our contracts where we are able to use resources from all over the county to help meet an emergent need. And we've got great cooperation with all of our contracting partners for that. So an emergent need, an emergency circumstance would be a time that we would use it, but also to just work in concert on a larger scale community outreach project. So, we have a lot of children's days or meet the families at like the mounted unit. We'll bring all of our community police officers in together to do that, and with full cooperation of our contracting partners.
And just, again, we've been operating like this, and we have several of these enhancement contracts out there with communities, and it's just a great way to get more personnel on the road. So,
Certainly, because it's our
great
mission
program.
to meet the need. So when we have partners that help us bring resources to the table to better meet that need, it's a win-win for our community.
Great cooperative agreement, so.
Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. I'll continue to agree this day with Commissioner Morgan that it is an opportunity to, if I get the phrase right, that to increase the number of sworn officers that will be part of our sheriff's road patrol, both this and the next item. My question, though, is a flashback to our last meeting, when, this is only my 9th year on finance, so I think I'm starting to understand it enough to be able to ask semi-intelligent questions. So when the general fund, in this and the next one, it, like, how is that, I mean, do you just have like this pot of general funds sitting around and it's like, all right, here's a great opportunity in Plainfield, here's a great opportunity in Kennewa? Like, how are you juggling your, what just is called, hey, you're gonna use some of your general fund allocation?
So I would hope that you make that recommendation for the next budget cycle, but no, I do not have a pool of money to work with. That being said, we do have laps, because of the
Open position?
yeah, the open positions that would happen, and I'll give you a very complicated answer, but this specific question meets it. When we have a contracted position, I typically will take a full, a regular full pay deputy, because of the amount of experience it takes to do these jobs very well, really warrant that you're a 5, 6, 7 year deputy at the department. Hopefully I have enough 5, 6, 7 year deputies left at the department to continue to do this. And then you hire a starting officer. That creates a bit of lapse when we take on these new contracts in the first year or 2 years, because they're coming in at a lower wage. So largely speaking, when we take on a new contract such as this, that lapse created by the hiring process is enough to cover the cost for that year.
Go ahead.
I think I understand it. Thank you. And I guess to follow up on the question, when I heard you say it at a couple of the quadrant meetings, excellent opportunities, Al, for the quadrant meetings. But so now we're going to have 2 more, allegedly, if it gets past the full board on Thursday, I think. Allegedly, there could be 2 more deputy openings. How are you going to fill those? What's happening on the recruitment side of your life? So why should we have positions if you can't recruit for them?
Well, we are recruiting for them, and it's a constant endeavor. I'd have to say, if I look back to the last 5 or 6 years, we've had quadruple the amount of effort that is within our department to recruit and maintain a constant stream of applicants. Obviously, working with HR to keep that application process open. The trick that we're really finding the most success with is leaning forward and hiring ahead when groups become available, particularly in the law enforcement realm. They graduate academies and classes. So if you don't have the ability to hire groups at a time, you kind of miss the boat if you're trying to hire 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. You're really kind of stuck with just those that are looking to transition from a different department. But we've had permission over the last several years to hire above strength when we can. And then, through attrition, we end up with enough positions to cover all the people that we've hired, and frankly, more positions than we have people hired. So but I have to say, we are working on some longer term strategies, and I think globally us as a community have to work on some longer term strategies to recruit young people into public service, including law enforcement, including corrections and dispatch. And this needs to start to be a community conversation, starting with young people, maybe as young as junior high. I know that seems silly, but really that's when they start to form their career aspirations and start lining up. And sometimes if you've made some critical errors in your judgment in your very young years, it can impact your public service. So again, talking to young people when they're still forming these ideas is really important. So that's going to be all of us. And I know that seems like a super vague answer, but I think it really does have to start aiming in that direction. I have had to dedicate many more resources to doing that, and also these SRO positions, community police positions, where a young person's in contact with a sworn law enforcement officer on a relationship basis has a huge impact on that as well.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Morgan?
To Commissioner Bolkowski, I get to do that now. I get a chance to chat or talk to some of the deputies on a professional basis. And I usually ask them, you know, how long you've been with the county, and a lot of them say 5, 6, 7 years. And I said, well, what attracted you to Kent County? Because they're usually from another department, Jackson or just an example. And and every one of them that I've talked to said it's the retirement plan that's a big attractor to the county. So I just thought I'd throw that out. And, you know, when they're looking to come, they definitely look at our benefits that we offer. And I just want to throw that out as, you know, we need to keep that in mind also.
I think the whole atmosphere for the employee matters a lot, and we find that when we talk to especially officers who have had experience at other departments before they came to the county. That really is a big draw for them. It's one of the reasons they'll talk to our officers. If our officers don't feel supported, if they don't feel like this is a good place to work and it's a good environment, it really deters our ability to recruit. But the retirement is a great retention tool more than anything, because many people don't really understand it until they get here, and then you go through all the classes and you understand it's like, oh, this is something really important that I maintain, so I stay. And we see that more in corrections. We recruit out of the Department of Corrections all the time, which is a much bigger agency than ours, but because of the atmosphere and then the retirement tool, it makes a big difference for our staff. Yeah.
Hey, Commissioner Womack?
Good morning, Sheriff. I definitely support this resolution in addition to this new position. My question was just to ask, and I'm also glad that Plainfield sees the need to the level that they really want to finance the majority of this themselves. What type of level of service are we giving Plainfield right now from the Sheriff Department when it comes to law enforcement?
Total. So this is their second community police officer. They also have an SRO at Northview Schools,
Okay.
which for many years Plainfield Township supplemented. And then they have contracted patrol services as well. And I'm going to look back at Chuck. You know how many units of service?
1 full and another 16 hours.
Right. So 2 officers for 16 hours a day, and then that goes to 1 in the overnight hours. So it's a long-standing relationship with Plainfield Township, and one they sought to increase about, I'd say probably 7 or 8 years ago is when we increased the additional patrol. We absolutely see it in that community with the additional patrol that we put on then. It really has had an effect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That will bring us to item number 6, also from the Sheriff's Office. Al?
Action requested, recommend to the Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with the Kennewa Hills Public School District to provide school resource officer services, to add 1 new county patrol officer, and to appropriate $133,159 to the Sheriff's 2022 Special Project Fund budget, and to authorize the Board Chair or designee to sign the agreements. Summary. The Sheriff Department would like to contract with the Kennewa Hills Public School District to add a CPO position to provide SRO services. The SRO will improve school safety by investigating on and off-campus incidents that might affect the security of the school campus, staff, and students, applying early intervention, security, and long-term problem-solving solutions for existing criminal and safety concerns, and using education, community resources, dialogue, and compromise to achieve solutions tailored to changing concerns and issues within the school district. The cost for the position is $133,159 annually, including $117,455 in wages and benefits and $17,600 in vehicle, equipment, and operating costs. The $17,600 includes the annualized vehicle costs and assumes the purchase of a new vehicle and equipment once every 5 years. Pursuant to the agreement, the school district will pay 70% of the wage and benefit costs, or $82,219, and $2,940 per year toward the cost of the vehicle. All other expenses in the amount of $48,000 annually, remaining vehicle, equipment, and operating costs, will be absorbed by the sheriff's general fund budget. The applicable contract has been reviewed and approved as to form by corporate counsel. In the event funding is eliminated or decreased, the position will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations. This item was approved by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee at its January 18, 2022 meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Bolter, supported by Commissioner Sparks. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion on item number 6. Yes, Commissioner Womack.
Got smart, I didn't go far this time.
Yeah, Sheriff, on this one, the 48,000 coming out of your budget is a little more than the last position. I do support it because I do see the need of this position, especially as it relates to the school district with the rise in opiates, with the nationwide uptick in school shootings. What are some of the other issues that may be addressed when we add positions like this to the school that justifies the 48,000 annually? And also will this position and the other that's already there, is there any way that they tie into fighting with the opiate rise with our students, with making sure we're proactive when it comes to school shootings and protecting our students, or are there other issues that are more pertinent that the school has saw?
Yeah, there is no more pertinent issue than the safety of the students when they're at the school. So just to clarify, Kennewa was part of our original group of school resource officers that joined the program several years ago, which has been a very successful and critical position for us to have over these last several months, especially following Oxford. That being said, Kennewa, due to budget cuts, reduced this position 2 years ago. So they are a great case study on how integral to the operations the school resource officer really becomes, because they really felt the loss over this last 18 months and worked very hard to get that position back into their budget and on their radar at their school district because of that. So there is a tremendous gap that happened in Kennewa and would happen anywhere, is already anywhere that there isn't a school resource officer, because that officer really is the person who assesses the risk for these threats, the risk that might be associated with a student who's having a hard time and perhaps is acting out. So they help work with that team to assess that threat, to help manage what happens next with that student and make sure that that's appropriate for that student, whether it's something that might follow the student to the outside, to the family, to maybe a community program, or if it's something that's specific to a situation at school. You know, that school resource officer is an important component of that decision-making process. Beyond that, they create an opportunity for a student to have a safe conversation within the school that can help them manage through whatever circumstance they're dealing with. And then again, it helps policy building for schools to have that representative of the public safety community, a consistent representative of that public safety community, part of those conversations. Without all of those things happening, and we saw this in Kennewa, we had a huge increase in calls for service at Kennewa when we were not there on a daily basis. And those resources, I'd say they were a tremendous amount of resources that we sent to Kennewa from our road patrol. And as effective as I believe our road patrol is in managing calls for service, they're never as effective as somebody that has a relationship and a knowledge base, because they have to start from zero every time they call them. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to get back involved in Kennewaw on a daily basis, and I'm happy for this program.
Thank you very much, and especially thank you for a little backstory, seeing that Kennewood Hills see that it's very important to return those services, and also the fact that by being proactive, how we can save money on road patrol. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
How come Kennewa's getting such a good deal? They only have to pay 70%, and Plainfield's got to pay 100%.
Two different programs. The school resource officer program was actually developed to be a 70-30 split. And I have to say, originally, the sheriff's office donated positions to that pool to create that 30%. And the philosophy was that we would get some general fund patrols out of those groups, summer months, breaks. I'd have to say the reality is that SRO is such a time-intensive assignment that in general we don't get much general patrol time out of the staff, but I still think it's worth the 30% because of the mission-critical tasks that it takes off my general fund officers.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
And this is open to school districts.
Every school district, yeah.
So I just wanted to make that comment.
Public and private.
Public is our history. I guess we'd have to assess the private question. I haven't had that posed. We do have Kent Intermediate School District, which is a little bit different than the rest of the school districts. So we do have a little one-offs on the program, but we haven't had a private approach us.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. That brings us to item number 7, which is public comment. Is there any public that would like to address the Finance and Physical Resources Committee this morning? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. That will bring us to Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous this morning? Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
I'm just glad to see that we're moving towards resolution on that NAP drain, because that was really, just affecting a lot of downstream folks, and so just happy that we're able to move to some kind of conclusion on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Bolter. Okay, any other Commissioner Miscellaneous? All right. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 1st at 8:30.